Hello there, it's Sean, and I'm making this video for you if you are currently experiencing the experience problem. The experience problem. What do I mean? So, this video is for you if your original intention is to learn closing remote high ticket sales. And by original intention, I mean you've actually invested a significant amount of your time to train, your effort and energy to learn, to practice, and your money. We're talking about 5, 10, 15, 20, 30k, however much you have invested overall to say, I want to complete this skill so I can find companies and close sales for them and do this as my career. And especially, I've been receiving messages and concerns over this thing, so I really want to make this video to talk about it, which is this issue of guaranteed placement. And one of two things can happen if you're one of those who have paid for this and you have bought this additional thing, or you bought into this thing where after you complete the closer program, they will place you, and one of two things can happen. One is they place you, so they deliver, and you actually join a good team, and if it works for you, that's great, right? You close, you get your investment back, everybody wins. If for whatever reason, either because you did not hit the KPIs or whatever happens in the company, they pause the funnel, they revisit their offer, they go on vacation, or for whatever reason the KPIs were not hit, and you either got released or you have to keep waiting for things to align, and meanwhile you don't know what to do, or they outright did not deliver what was promised, and therefore we are still waiting. So if you are in such a scenario, comment below what's happening, or if you don't want to comment, you can just reach out and share your experience with me. Like, seriously, what's happening? Because what do you think happened for people like me and my peers? As in, I believe this whole appointment setter spike in demand and this guaranteed placement thing, it did not happen until, correct me if I'm wrong, but 2-3 years ago, because 5 years ago when I started, there were none of these things. And my question to you is, during those times, how do you think we made it work? How do you think salespeople would land good opportunities and close and earn commissions back during a time where there weren't all these appointment setter programs and there weren't guaranteed placements and things like that, right? So the funny thing is, even though now there are more options, even though now there are more people teaching, setting and closing, the problems of not landing opportunities, it didn't go away. You'll be surprised, right? As in, you would think that with all these new programs and guarantees, these problems will be reduced. But no, I'm still people are telling me that, okay, since it did not work out, I spent 10-20k on my closer certification and I'm waiting to be placed, or I'm placed and it didn't work out, like whatever happened, now my solution is to start as a setter. My solution is to start as a setter. And I get why people want to do that. While you're waiting, you can do something, right? Or if you have no experience and therefore you can't get placed, I can start somewhere, right? I can build my discipline, I can get my foot in the door, I can warm up, I can practice, I can get confident conversing with people via text and just ease my way in. So I get it. That is one way to do it, and I'm not saying that it is right or wrong. I want to illuminate the path so you know that if you're waiting, or you start as a setter, or you want to go straight into closing, what are your options and what should you keep a lookout for? Okay, and the whole reason why people don't know how to navigate is because what they tell me, what you guys are telling me, is the advice if I can't get placed, the advice if I don't have experience and so I can't join a good team, the advice on how to find qualified opportunities is Just join a bunch of groups and DM a bunch of people. Okay, this kind of advice you should not have to pay 4 or 5 figures to learn, because I can just tell you right now. Just join a bunch of groups, DM a bunch of people, change your mindset. This is not going to do the thing, because 5 years ago this was already happening. So you need to be very clear on what the learning curve is for the different paths. The learning curve of what a setter does, ideally, and the learning curve of what a closer does. And if you want to pursue one of the two or both, that way you know what to learn and if you're actually learning it, or are you just spending time warming up, making yourself feel productive, but deep down you're not actually plucking up the courage to face the learning curve and go through, because it can be very overwhelming. And when I experienced the overwhelm, I shut down. So what I wish someone could have done for me while I was doing what you're doing now, which is coming on YouTube to find someone that can actually say and demonstrate something that makes sense, I wish that someone would come to me and say, Sean, if you're waiting, here's why, and here's why you should not be waiting. And if you want to do a permanent setting, this is what you need to be aware of. If you want to go into closing, this is what you need to be aware of. If you want to go to closing but you want to take a detour to setting, then this is the way to go. Otherwise you detour, or you wait, and you buy the next program, you buy the next placement, and then you're still waiting. This 6 months that we wait, okay, or even this 1 year that we wait, how much is that 6 months or 12 months of waiting for placement to happen, for the right opportunity to come along, or even waiting in teams that are not qualified just so you can feel more confident? I cannot decide how precious this time is for you. Okay, so you have to really make a decision. Once I learn the learning curve from Sean, am I going to go out there and build it even though I may not fully understand it? Or am I going to swim back to the shore and say, I'm going to wait for the placement to happen, because that's still the safest option. I can wait for another 6 months. I'm going to wait in my unqualified team, because if I quit now, I'm afraid that I might not find a better opportunity. Okay, you can either think with a job mentality and go for safety first, okay, or you really need to find that entrepreneur in you and say, well, if I take 5 risks, if I take 10 risks, I try to join 5 better teams, I go and learn closing for what it is there really a fail? Is that really fail? Or is waiting for 6 months safer, because that way I can never fail? So I hope I can speak to the risk taker in you. I hope I can speak to the entrepreneur in you. I hope I can speak to the winner in you, that part of you that says, screw it, there is no fail. I'm going to learn the learning curve for what it is, and I do not want to wait, because the more you wait, the more this kind of thing happen, and then people take advantage of your inability to cook your own food, as I like to say. Okay, cook your own food. So this is one of the big problems, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, tell me in the comments. When you complete your program, you complete your closer program, the one that you invested in, right? And technically you might have practice calls, role plays, mock calls, okay, whatever you call it, but you haven't really done a complete live sales call from front to back, or you haven't closed a sale. So when you land an interview or you land a placement, and then the company says, we have spent hundreds or thousands of dollars, we've been running ads every month, right? And people are coming in, they are booking calls. So each appointment is about $50, $100, okay, $300. And now you, the person who have completed a course, and you've never done a sales call, you are going to jump on that call right now and represent our company and enroll that client if it's a fit. By the way, do you have experience? And you try, right? You say, I've done a course, I have my certification, and I've been guaranteed to come here and close for you, and I'm an A player, I am very hardworking, and you say, right? You're trying to sell yourself. And they're like, so do you actually have experience? And you say no. So now your friends come along and tell you, okay, why don't you start as a setter? And sure, you can. Okay, you can. Definitely you can. And this is what I mean. I've spent the last 2 months learning high ticket closing. Okay, and this is someone who has invested his time, money, effort, energy. 2 months. I don't know how much. I've tried applying for different positions as a closer. Okay, his intention is not to invest in appointment setting training and to do appointment setting. His intention was to do closing. So he invested in closing. But because everyone wants experience, I go into setting. Okay, fine. So I want to explain how to do this. Okay, because when we say closing, the psychology of closing, this is the learning curve. That when I listen to your sales calls, from the start of the call to the end, okay, all these elements need to be in place. The principles need to be in place. Okay, the principles of you having the best and unique solution that your other competitors don't have. The principles of your prospect needing to do this right now and leave their old paradigm behind, because you don't want to wait till the end of the call and then they say, I will think about it because I don't really want to change now. I don't really need to change now. I don't really want a solution right now. The principle of them having the finances to invest in themselves. The principle of trust and belief that you are the one to help them, that you have helped people like them, people worse off than them, people better than them. All these beliefs is what completes a high ticket sales call. So the decision is there, the urgency is there, the competition has been eliminated, the trust is there, the belief is there. That is the principles of a call. You take any one of these out, you don't have a complete call. All right, I address this in my other training. It's called the complete call. You can do a search on my YouTube. And that is the principles. Now the flow of the call, the how, okay, is as follows. Obviously you need to have a connection with the prospect, right? That is your rapport. Okay, you need to have a really thorough understanding of the prospect's background, where they come from, what they have been through, why they are here, and then goals, what they want to achieve, and then their problems and the root causes of the problem. Sometimes they're not even aware of that, and if they don't solve it, what's the consequence and nightmare? And then you summarize the call and then clarify that is this something you are committed to solving right now? I mean, is there the urgency, right? Then you walk them through your process, so they're sold on the process, and then we come to making that decision, and we go through the finances and it all makes sense. Okay, make payment, enroll them into the program, tell them next steps. So as a closer, this is what's happening. Like these days it happens mostly on Zoom, right? So on let's say like a Zoom call, and meeting the prospect like on a video call like this, and then you are supporting them through this process. A lot of times they already know what the business is doing. A lot of times they are already here for help. That's why they make the effort to book the call, to show up on time for the call, to take notes, to be in a conducive environment. When someone does all these things, they are already actively looking for a solution. So you as a closer, you just need to support them well on all these things I've said. Okay, then if they close, then you get paid. So ideally this is all what we as closers sign up for, right? We don't say, hey, we want to learn this, and then we want to do this, and then we go start as a setter first. Because why? When you start as a setter, I ask you this question. Yes, you improve your confidence, right? Because you are getting work done. Yes, you improve your understanding of how to text people, right? And there might be some overlaps, some similarities here in terms of, say, rapport background question, ask about their goals. It will be the same, right? But can I ask you, how are you doing it? You are taking your phone, right? And then, or you're on your computer, and then you are in someone's inbox, and then you have time to think. You can look at your script. You can pause for 3 to 5 minutes. You can format. You can process your reply. Then you type and you send. And then you are not really leading them to a sale, right? You're sending lead magnet, and you're sending it fast. It's like send lead magnet, then see the previous conversation. Oh, he's still in doing rapport, and then, oh, I got to welcome this guy to this particular touch point, and I got to send out this message, and then check my previous conversation, and then I can't wait too long to reply because now the messages are coming in. So I got to send, send. In 1 hour I book 5-10 calls. Another 1 hour I book 5-10 calls. In 1 hour I book 5-10 calls. 1 hour I book 5-10 calls. That is a 4-hour shift. Then I go for a break, and then I come back, another 4-hour shift. Send. So while you are doing all this work and your fingers are moving like a machine gun, can I ask you, this learning curve for closing, how much did you actually move up this curve? Because yes, your typing speed increased. Yes, your confidence increased. Yes, your pace and your self-discipline increased. And your fingers become stronger, and you become more focused, and you type really well. But the psychology of going back and forth one-to-one in a consultative sales call, where you are reading the nuances, you're listening to the deeper stuff, you're clarifying, and you don't have 3-5 minutes to plan and process your reply. You have to interact with the person now. What is a live conversation? All these things, how much do you actually practice and get experience? Keyword, what's the obstacle? Experience, right? Do you have experience with closing? Well, I don't really have experience with closing, but I worked as a setter for 6 months, and in that 6 months I sent a lot of lead magnets, and I'm doing these things like going through all the different touch points for my influencers' paid traffic, their organic traffic, their partner traffic, or managing their email inbox, or whatever touch points throughout their organic social media that has not been addressed, or at least they come to the website. I'm engaging them, I'm getting them into this purple box right here, and then from here I book a call, and then someone else close, and then I get paid. And this is what I do as a setter. I am chatting with people. I understand how to provide them the support they need to book a call. I know this. Okay, that's great. But for closing, have you actually closed before? No. Then have you done one live sales call before? No. So you're telling me if I give you the leads that I've spent hundreds and thousands of dollars right now, you only have appointment setting experience? Yes. You see what I'm trying to say here? Because now the question becomes, at what point when you are in this section of the buyer's journey and seller's process, and you're coming here, the pink box, and you're typing in the inbox as a seller, or you're doing outbound, my question is, at what point did you fulfill the criteria of experience with closing? At what point does it happen? I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It can happen, but you got to be clear. At what point does it happen? Is it because when you type in the inbox, you type, at some point it becomes a sales call? When does that happen? Is it because you type, and then at some point the influencer says, our closers are down, can you help with the calls today? Is it you perform extremely well as a setter? You book 50, 100 calls a month, and then they say, hey, because of your performance, now we're going to promote you to become a closer. And then the new guy that comes in to replace you, we have to train him from scratch all over again because you just got promoted to become a closer, which you have not done. You get what I'm trying to say? So at what point does your experience in setting start to sell the business owners on because of my extensive experience with setting. Oh, now I'm ready for closing. So how does that convince the business owner that you're ready to close their calls? How does that prove that you're ready to close their calls? You got to think about that, because if your whole plan is to say, I want to learn appointment setting and be really good at it, that's fine. But if you want to do closing and then you keep setting, and I know people that do this, their whole plan is to do closing, but because they keep starting as a setter, and they don't know at what point does this curve actually get fulfilled, and then they get so comfortable with appointment setting because it's predictable and they have work to do, and they can log in for 8-hour shift and then log out, and then some of them have a base salary. So once they get comfortable in that, it's like, why learn this? I already have something good going for me. So some of them I know, once they fall into this place, they never touch closing again. And maybe that's what's best for their skill set and their zone of genius. Okay, so then this video will not apply to them anymore. But if you are still wanting to get to closing, okay, then you cannot say this. You cannot say with time, I will figure it out. I mean, if you're young, you're in your early 20s, you really have time, okay, and you can really go ahead and figure it out. But if you are not on that path and you really want to figure out, you got to ask yourself, what is it exactly about time that gives you the fulfillment of this learning curve? How does time, Monday pass, and then 4 weeks pass, and then 4 months pass? What actually happened in the time? It's the same question as what actually happened inside the inbox that allows you to fulfill these principles. What is it about time? So when I hear this, I always ask, what is it about the time that helps you figure it out? So, okay, fine, I'll start as a setter first. If you're telling me that while you are studying as a setter and while the time is passing, the thing that's actually happening is more outbound work. The thing that is actually happening is not that you're learning how to close, it's more cold calling. And then you're helping out with the VA stuff, whatever admin stuff, welcome people into the Facebook group and then fill up the Excel sheet and join team meetings, and then there's admin stuff. So while time is passing and your effort is increasing, again, it's the same question. Did you actually get the relevant? Keyword is relevant. Keyword is experience. The experience point that we talk about in this slide. This one, do you have experience with closing? I have done outbound work. Do you have experience with closing? I have done cold calling. Do you have experience with closing? I have done VA and admin stuff. I work really hard in someone's company. So before you lose all that time and effort and you burn yourself out thinking that some way, somehow, when I feel productive enough, I will learn how to close. Okay, you are lying to yourself. Okay, do you have experience with closing? No, but I have experience in setting. Have you closed any sales via phone before? Have you done a live sales call? Have you understood the learning curve of a sales call? Have you role played? If your answer is no, then okay. But then you have experience as a setter, right? Then guess what they will say? If your answer to these questions are no, then guess what they will say? If someone else is in the interview pool, if someone else is in the conversation as a fellow candidate for that closing position, and all that person needs to say is, oh, I have done one live sales call before, oh, I have closed one sale before, he's already a better option than you. You know what I mean? So when they compare the interview pool, and then they say, well, this person has closed X amount before, this person has closed one call, and then there's you, he has worked really hard as a setter before, then if you are the business owner, who will you choose? Right? If you are the business owner, what will you say? You say, well, then I guess, why don't you do setting? There's an open position for setting in my company, and I tell you what, I can't accept you as a closer first because I've got 2 other guys with experience, and I tell you what, you can start as a setter in my company first, and then when the time is right, somewhere down the future, if both my closers die, I guess I could promote you into a closer position, right? And then we wait another 4 months. So I hope that if we do wait in that 4 months, at least we don't, I mean, these things are fine. I mean, really, it's really a form of personal development. You go through like rejections and you learn self-discipline, right? You learn what is it like to do remote work. Okay, so yes, you can start. Okay, but while you're starting, make sure that you are studying the relevant materials. If you just want to be a setter, okay, then just study setting stuff. Okay, and I have free courses, free trainings with all the what, how, and who, okay, and where and when, and there's no sales pitch, there's no order bump, there's no upsells. It's a free and complete training. Okay, go be the best setter that you can be and book as many calls as you can, and then it's also a very decent way. I know some setters will make more money than closers, and especially if your zone of genius, somehow this clicks faster for you, then my advice is really to become a setting specialist and go all the way with it. Okay, if you want to be a closer, okay, then study the actual learning curve. And again, I have my free training on the complete script. I have my free training on the complete call. Just go through my YouTube and you'll find it on my main page. Yeah, I've organized all the stuff nicely for you. At least you study my stuff. Okay, and then you go practice. Find someone to practice. Okay, and then you record those sessions. Okay, and then you break it down and you talk about it. Right? So at least when you go to the business owner and you talk to them, you can use what you've learned from me to close them. Rather than to say no, and I work really hard as things that are not directly relevant to what you're about to hire me for. You know what I'm trying to say? Okay, and the other thing is your closer brand. I have a lot of free trainings on how to market yourself so that by the time you even get on the interview, and I have so many videos of me getting interviewed, grilled, and pressure tested by business owners. Go through them as well. Okay, so at the end of the day, pick the right curve for the right path. Okay, let me repeat that. Pick the right curve for the right path. So when you are well prepared for that path, you research the business before the interview, and you already know they're going to ask you about the experience problem, right? First of all, you don't have to wait for someone to place you. You can use what I teach in my unique closer brand training, okay, to approach business owners, have text conversations with them in a way that they respect your brand, in a way where they respect the conversation, in a way where they respect you because you are an agent of value. So they don't swipe away the conversation, they don't archive you, they don't ignore you, they don't block you. They say, oh, it's you messaging me. I reply. And from that conversation, you use what I teach to close them, to get on a call with you. What is that call? That call is an interview. And if you're going for a setter career right now, in the short term or in the long term or whatever, prepare for it. Document your work, your training, your understanding. At least have something for yourself as a setter. Same thing if it's a closing position. Self-source the opportunity for you. Of course, if you bought guaranteed placement and they give it to you, that's great. Then if they don't, then how? Wait for Christmas? No, right? So you got to use what I teach you to be proactive. All salespeople are proactive. That's how we prospect, right? So now if you don't have an offer, your prospect is your future client, your business owner. Then prepare your closing material, research them, okay, and then you're going to use your closing skills. Okay, like right here, what I teach in the complete call. If you don't currently have an offer, that person that is interviewing you right now, you go listen to all my interviews, I was closing them. They thought they were interviewing me. Yes, it's true. I'm also closing them. I'm also qualifying them. It's work both ways. It's closing. Everything is closing. Okay, if you think about it, even as a seller, you're also closing that company who doesn't know you. It's a complete stranger. What's that? That's a dead cold lead. You're setting them and you're closing them to let you set for them. So whether you are a seller, whether you are a closer, whether you're a business owner, even if you're just someone, let's say, trying to land a date for that matter, it's still closing. Okay, so I hope this video gives you the clarity you need to say that with time this should happen. With time you should be investing your efforts into the right curve. Otherwise your time is going to the wrong place, and in the end they ask you, do you have experience in this? You still cannot answer. Okay, so let me know if this video gave you the clarity you need, so that even as you navigate, at least now you know what is the path you're walking on, and you don't sidestep it. You don't wait and you don't try to sidestep. You build the relevant experience, you build the relevant portfolio. And if after watching this video you have some questions in your mind that you want to go through with me, I know I can't answer everything in this 30-minute video, but I'll do my best. Reach out and tell me your questions. Reach out on social media and send me your questions. Okay, whatever you ask, I believe there's a very high chance that I already have some kind of a resource, a video, a training, a recorded session with my students, a piece of document. I probably have a recording of myself doing it. Okay, so that you can consume this stuff and then you know how to prepare. Okay, and whatever that doesn't take up my personal time, I'm very happy to send it to you. Okay, so reach out on social media and say, hey Sean, I've seen your training and I don't quite understand this part, or I need some examples for this, and I want to clarify what does this mean, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let me know in the comments below your thoughts, your questions, your insights, and check out the rest of my videos and the different playlists that I've organized for you based on your brand or your strategy or your skills. Okay, go study the respective pillars that you feel you need to build up, and just remember that at the end of the day, you are responsible for yourself. Okay, you are fully responsible for yourself. The only way that someone can keep selling you the next thing is because you did not ultimately learn how to cook your own food. Okay, no one taught me how to do all these things. I really have to sit down, organize my thoughts, reflect, try, fail, and then it's the same thing as in for everything else we do. Okay, so that's it for my video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Cheers.